A sheet of numbers. All right. Can you hear me okay? Good. All right, we'll start the meeting, September 6th meeting. First thing we have is a public hearing. Local law number 8, 2022, amending article 202, adjusting hours of operation for the city park. Is there here, anybody here to speak to that? Can you get that list in and see if there's somebody to find out? Again, going twice, proposed local law number 8, 2022, amending article 202, adjusting hours of operation for city parks. Last call, proposed local law number 8, 2022, amending article 202, adjusting hours of operation for city parks. Public hearing number 2, proposed local law number 9, 2022, amending the city code relating to zoning changes. Again, public hearing number 2, proposed local law number 9, 2022, amending the city code relating to zoning changes.
I'm here to answer questions.
All right, if we have some, we can, we'll bring them. Thank you, Bob. Anybody else on the proposed local law number 9 of 2022, amending the city code related to change zoning changes? For the councils, I think everybody was sent an update on that recently, so you'll get that update and we'll discuss that further at the next meeting. All right, I call order, roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Here.
Councilmember Silliman,
Here.
Councilmember Pinello,
Here.
Councilmember Lane,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Carpenter. Here. Councilmember Beckwith,
Present.
Councilmember Michaels.
Here.
We all rise to the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we keep being plagued with mental illnesses and drug addiction, I'd like to get a moment of silence and reflection for that, please. Thank you. Proclamations and presentations, I don't have any, so we'll go right to privilege of the floor. And Tim Bennett, 4th Ward. So I need to get the mic.
You can
So I
use
can
mine.
read it. So I can put some
Trying not to go too far so that it doesn't mess anything up. My name's Tim Bennett. I'm a resident of the community. I always have to give this disclaimer. I am the owner and publisher of the Cortland Voice. I'm a Cortland alum. I'm not representing Cortland. I'm just have a shirt on. I also own Fun Flicks Indoor and Outdoor Movies. Back in 2019, October of 2019, I won a bid. The bid that I won was with the Cortland Downtown Partnership. It was just between myself and the Cortland Standard. Myself as Tim Bennett outbid the Cortland Standard, and the Cortland Downtown Partnership said we had the best bid. What was it for? 3 events. First Light, Taste, which is in the summer, and then also Celebration. Going from 2019 to 2020, I did do First Light. Celebration, I did, and right like 2 weeks before COVID hit. Then COVID did hit. I wanted to do events, but because of health protocols and things, we haven't. The next event that was gonna happen, it still is going to happen, is First Light. Unfortunately, when I checked the agenda, and I should have kind of knew something like this would come, because of previous conversation before Mayor Steve took office with him, he tried to reimagine the same event that I just purchased and that I actually ran right before COVID with agenda item number 12, calling it Midnight on Main. You know, I don't know why. I mean, he said to me, hey, well, the event didn't happen last year. And that's kind of crazy to me. I mean, Dairy Day didn't happen last year. I didn't see him trying to get farm animals to put it on. Pumpkin Fest didn't happen. I didn't see him running around for pumpkins. Why the events that I'm doing that many said I did a good job for. I'm a small business owner, just like anybody else. I give back and new things that I added that weren't done previously. The proceeds from my event went to community policing to give kids in the neighborhoods, you know, the shop the cop, money went towards that, and Jesse Abbott was running things. Additional funds also went to, the YW and other nonprofits who sold tickets. I have one of the best selling numbers at the After Celebration. I've done everything in my part. And I'm active in the community. I don't get what your thought process is on it. I'm willing to hear it. I'm here for when you do go over Agenda 12, normally like when you speak on different things or whatever, like if something told us when they call in or somebody else, if it's fire or police, you call Chief Sandy. Me, Tim Bennett, business owner, event planner, small business owner, is here to address any questions you might have, because I mean, I've done everything more by the book. I mean, I'm doing everything. I mean, I haven't asked for anything, nor have I ever had any complaints, so I don't get why the copycat approach, or I'm not sure, but I'm more than interested to have that conversation, and if now's not the time, maybe you guys table it, do what you do. I don't want to go over my time, but is there any questions or anything you might want to know from me as Tim Bennett? And that's to any council people, or mayor, city clerk.
We could ask questions. Sorry, we could ask questions
Yeah, we don't, yeah.
Okay, my fault. I'm sorry. There was no disrespect in that. I didn't know.
when the item comes up.
Yeah, right, when 12 comes up.
Well, thank you for hearing. Everyone.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, finance report. Fortunately, today we received our our second quarter sales tax, which is what they're quite delayed in getting it. They suspend that for quite a while. It has to go through committee, but so we're on target for what we had budgeted for, the 6.1 million, but your financials didn't show that update this month when we had that, so we seem to be on target for that, and hopefully a little bit more. I think it's going a little bit stronger now. We did have a low month, but it seems to be getting better. Everything else seems to be, as you can see on the thing, we have some items that are in the loss, and we need to address them, and we'll certainly look at them next year, but we've been able to save in some of the other ones, so I'm hoping that we end up with a net evens for sure.
Why?
Yeah, that's the point.
Just a note on the sales tax. Cheryl sent updated sales tax Excel documents earlier today, and I printed those and handed them out.
Okay, so these are that.
Different than what was sent out with the agenda.
Okay, so, but the public has the update, non-updated one, but only update changes that financial. So that was 1.6, I believe is the number for the second quarter. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? I think all the other projects, shows on there for the construction projects, and all those other items seem to be on target, on task too. I believe we have expended all of our money again for the second time on our sidewalk program. So we'll have to discuss that. We made a great impact on that aspect as well. So that part's been good.
I do have a question on the sales tax. It looks like there was in collection of the funds in June. It looks like there's a large swing of about $1 million. Did we hold less events? It looked to me, it would seem like we would hold more events since COVID. It's been, the protocols have changed.
To hit the dip, yeah, it's hard to explain why the overall sales tax is like that, but it was nationwide, there was like that, even though you would think there'd be more traveling. more things going on, but it did follow the national average because I challenged that one too. That was pretty significant. I was concerned about that ending the year that way, but we're back in the upswing. It seems to be going better again. But I don't remember what was going on at that time that would have made people drive to that economic downturn, but I'm sure there was something there. Okay. All good. All right, so, mayor's report. So I'll start off with the construction update. Apex, which is Troy's baby over there, it's 3,500 tons as of Friday, with an estimator of 5,000 tons. 3,500 of them have been removed. And it's going well. We did uncover a basement that was there that we didn't expect. It was pretty large. So we'll still have a pile of brick and still have a big hurdle to go uphill after that, but at least we'll get rid of the problematic dangers. Arctic monitoring is doing the monitoring there, and they've done a phenomenal job and keeping, and Gorick Construction is the one doing the work, and they've done a great job as far as watering it down and keeping it all safe for everybody, for asbestos and anything else that would be hazardous that would be breathable. Of course, the IDA BDC has been a great partner in that, and the landfill has gone way out of their way for us. They set up a separate cell so the trucks can get in and out quickly, because it's a per day kind of situation, and they're gonna go 2 days over, which is pretty good for that site to be able to estimate that close. So I feel pretty good about that overall, although, having it sold, but we do have some people that are looking to get interest to get that happen, so that's good news. Rolling that into the next vacant building that we have the bad news of the separation of business, so local business in on Huntington Street and on Central or and Elm. That's an estimated 500 employees, but I'll tell you, the community really came together, and we have like 30 businesses plus that have stepped up, and we'll have an offering of about that many jobs. And some of the ones I highlight, they'll train you to be an EMT, and learn that so they can train into business. And there's a lot of like Portland Plastics, they can actually lineal right over to that. We're trying to, the idea of BBC is trying to work on trying to sustain one of the businesses that was in there. So hopefully we get them to stay local. But I feel very confident that the other jobs will be there, and they're good paying jobs. So it could be a good transition to get them off. And the community's been great. The high school, contacted the high school and said, we have a lot of Spanish speaking people in that, and they're willing to take that language and have that communication. So they're going to give us Spanish teachers to help do that communication, which is awesome. They've offered tents. So everybody's been really we're going to do an outdoor event on the park, at Randall Park, because they can't fit everybody in. And we're going to get Portland Transit to transport everybody over on the bus to be able to drop them off at that job fair and have all those businesses there for that one day event. So pretty excited that, the county has really taken a great job in trying to move this forward, and they've really done a tremendous job in making this happen. So the last thing we want to have is this business be vacant for 5 years and have another Apex on our hands. So the good news is there's a company looking, and we can hopefully get that good news later for at least one of the buildings, which is the big one. If you look at the Google Earth map, it's a pretty big building. I think it was, several acres large. So that'll be exciting news too. So good to have that problem and how we fill those jobs. So that would be awesome. The construction updates for downtown, we have had some issues there, and just to be candid about it, we've had some engineering issues, and we put them on notice last week and give us a corrected action plan by Friday, which they did submit. We're going to have a meeting with them again this week to try to work that corrective action plan to work out better. But construction has not started as quickly and as good as we would like, but we're on top of that to try to get that. In the same venue, different situation on Clinton Ave, the substantial completion should be completed about now, and that's not going to happen due to some things that were foreseen and some things were self-created. We had recently, actually last night, during that heavy rain, we had a good washout at the end of Charles Street in Clinton right there, and a vehicle drove by when it was soft and he sunk in. So it looks worse when you see pictures when you get to social media sites than it actually was, but it did do damage to his car, and everything was marked off properly, but because they had opened the pipe up and where it should have been, the erosion happened more in a different area. So again, we were out today walking with the DPW, our deputy, and and superintendent, as well as the engineer, to try to work out a corrective action plan, which we're currently working with that contractor to work out that corrective action plan. Alderman Michaels was with me at that time. So hopefully we'll get that resolved. And that's the third incident that we had a washout with that company. So on the good news, NICEAG is done with their hookups, and they were able to get that hookup done on. Remember, we talked at our last meeting, we were concerned about it being on Tompkins at the current time of the college kids, and they were able to get it done ahead of time. So that all that move-in went really well. Certainly, we all felt the impact of the traffic, but everything went pretty well. Some of us felt the impact even worse, but we got through that. But they got that done, and so in a timely manner. And now they're just finishing up cleaning up the sidewalks. They got to pour some concrete and all that. Concrete's kind of hard to get right now, so there's been some delay. DPW continues on with, they had some curbing issues on one of the streets, so they're able to take that funding and move it over to do 4 more roads. I think you all got an email about that. So that's good news for those 4 roads that were moved ahead of year. And then we're still working, and these are subcontractors. If you see those intersections being tore up, there's 85 ADA ramps, ramps to the sidewalks going to the street, approximately 85, a little over that are being done currently too. So that, amongst some of the other issues that Andrea will bring up during the Youth Bureau, would be, it's going to be quite an aggressive list from now through fall. So they have a tremendous job on the DPW's part on that aspect. The fire department, they helped the CP Cash and Carry last week. I think that was a great story. That owner expressed a lot of appreciation. I think that should be recognized. Their freezer went out, and he sent over $6,000. He was estimating of value in those products that they went in, and they quickly moved in, and volunteers and paid firefighters helped get the stuff relocated in vans. And then actually the school district came down with and brought it up to their refrigeration. So it's a great network that we have in our community to make these things happen. That was awesome to see that. Thanks for the fire department for that, and the numerous other incidents that would be difficult. The police department had their Klondike event, which was great, and they've been immensely helpful with the homeless situation, both offering mental health services. I know Chief Sandin himself, referred somebody to Cody, which is the response group for mental health, and was able to talk the person into getting some help. And those are the things that they continue to try to do, and they're all trained in that, to help with the drug treatment. And certainly there's many accusations out there that we're tearing down tents, et cetera. I assure you that's not true. And we're doing everything we can to help these people. And I don't want to get into the details of all of it, but there's some good and sad stories out there. Youth Bureau, Dog Park is an exciting piece that hoping Andrea will bring up too. We've been working on those, and the stage, we're working out with our municipal partners and trying to get that finalized to get those funded. So that's how that's going to be funded. And we'll probably look to get some of the ARP funding for our portion of that stage when we get to that figured out. Some good events that happens. The Community Cares event was very successful this weekend. It was a great thing, and it's a great kind of process that she's came up with that so people that can't afford to go to the fair can go to that, which is awesome. I think it's kind of a neat aspect that I never thought about. That was great to be able to do that. And maybe people don't want to go to the fair. That's like myself. So that was a great and well-attended event. The Mural Fest happened last week as well. It was the first time for that. There were 34 murals that were created, mini murals, if you will, and those mini murals will be transported and be set up during the construction site when we get construction going, and be able to block off some of the open areas to make it look good and kind of soften the blow, if you will. And that mural, that same group, that will be the group we were commissioned to work towards us, to helping design our downtown monuments and artwork that has to happen there. So I guess that's what I have in my mayor's report. So we'll go to ward reports. Mr. Scott.
Currently all quiet in Ward 1. I would like to thank, however, the DPW twice now, and I'll highlight one specifically. I've gotten concern call about some things that are going on, and they were taken care of immediately. This was quite a few weeks ago, as we haven't been in session, but the main intersection by Homer Ave on the corner of the hospital there, the paint goes every year because of how we plow it. I mean, it's just gonna. And I had a concerned constituent call. I was told it was on slate for actually that week, and it was the first job they did the next morning before they were done painting. The same constituent called, thanked us for doing it. So I want to thank DPW, any representatives here for that, any that are listening. That was great because she really was a concerned citizen and it was taken care of so fast. She was just very, very pleased. I was very pleased. I think we did a great job getting that taken care of. Other than that, everything's pretty quiet.
Perfect, thank you. Ms. Sullivan?
Okay. Well, the students are back in town, and it's really wonderful to have them and their energy. And the police and the fire department have been out knocking on doors and talking to kids. And President Bitterbaum sent a letter to the students saying, please be conscious of your Portland neighbors, not just the people who live close to the college or close to you in your student housing, but the town in general, which I really appreciated. So I think that's partly the result of the discussions we've had with the town gown committee, which we had another meeting and that was very productive. And I'm looking forward to making more progress in this respect. I even had a note from some student neighbors who gave me their phone number and said, please let us know if we're too loud, the girls basketball team. So we just really appreciate gestures like that. I met with zoning with Bob Ray, and he has done an extensive survey of the sidewalks in the city. And we can share that document with all of you so that you can see where the concerns are. I think if we can do something about the sidewalks, it's going to have an impact on everybody. I know the people in your board don't have sidewalks, but then again, when they come up to our side of town, they walk on them. They appreciate being able to walk without tripping. So there's an issue with a little piece of property that's a public right of way called Carpenter Alley that I've been in contact with DPW and with zoning about. It's between a private parking lot on Groton and Lincoln Ave. And it's one of the owners who lives adjacent brought it to my attention and said that it's just really, it needs to be maintained. And if the city will cede it to her, she will take care of it. In fact, she wants to close it so that it's no longer a thoroughfare. There are some steps, there's pitted pavement, and both DPW and zoning are in favor of doing that. So I'll hopefully bring that to you guys next time. Yes. Oh, we're having an issue with lights on West Court Street, and this is a big concern. And I've talked to Nick Dobie. It seems that there are parts that we don't have, but it's really critical now that the students are back because they aren't as familiar with the town. The lights are out all the way up and down the street on one side. It is very, very dark. And we have some elderly neighbors up there who are afraid to leave the house at night. I walk every night and I have to use my iPhone. So this is a big concern. And if we get people who are walking around and partying and are intoxicated, I'm really concerned that somebody could fall and hurt themselves. So please be careful in that area. And I'm looking forward to hearing updates from Nick about when those lights can be fixed. And I think that's it for me.
I'll follow up with that in email as well, because we had another one that was that way, so we'll take care of that. Speaking of college students, I'll just jump in here real quick. We have a guest here tonight that is our intern that the college has awarded us, an intern. And Gretchen, if you could stand up. Gretchen Hazard is our intern, and we just met today for the first time. And she's a college student, has a great resume, as right, as she's in the student government senator, right? Okay, so she, yeah, we won't put her on too much highlight right now, but she just incredible amount, and perfect timing, works right with the town and gown stuff, and has some great ideas that of her own. So I'm excited to work beside her and trying to get this done. But I thought you all should take a chance to meet her, and she'll be following us around hopefully in some of the meetings and do some neat stuff to come. So welcome aboard, Gretchen.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you for taking the position.
Okay, Ms. Pennell.
Okay, so, the third ward has had an issue, and I'm betting that some of you already know about this. At Otter Creek, right at Broadway, between Melvin and Broadway, there's a footbridge. And, for whatever reason, we now have a resident beaver. And this animal, and I'm an animal lover, please, but he has destroyed 2 trees already. And I'm working with Nick Dovey with DPW and trying to figure out how to move it so it doesn't ruin any more trees over there. And it's not a good situation. And if you go from Melvin to Broadway over the footbridge, there's a culvert down below, and that's where it's hiding. That's where it's going in. I've seen it, and I'm concerned about, as we get into fall and winter and the rain and everything else, this could be a bad situation. So, just trying to figure that out, and it's been an ongoing issue pretty much all summer. So we're working on that, and that, other than that, Third Ward is doing well.
Thank you. Ms. Lang?
College is back. Parking is always an issue when the students first return, parking on Tompkins Street and on Pearl Street. Unfortunately, one of the no parking signs had been knocked over in front of 201 Tompkins. And without the sign there, kids parked there. But Nick got right on it and got the sign back up. And so, and I try to warn students when I see them, you can't park there, don't park there, park down there. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. But it is getting better now. There was a 2-car accident on Pashley and Tompkins last night. I don't think there were any injuries, but it was a loud crash, and every police officer and every firefighter were there. All of them. It'd be great if we could get a street light there. Because there are accidents there every year. The Youth Bureau and the fire department had a paint the fire hydrant deal going. It was,
Still going.
yeah, it was great. And it ran out of paint, I guess. Jean and I painted the hydrant on the corner of Pashley and Tompkins, which had nothing to do with the accident. I don't think the brightness of the hydrant caused anything. One of the neighbors on York Street painted 4 or 5 of the hydrants. Speeding continues to be an issue in and out of the city. And we'll talk about town and gown when we get to it. Other than that, things are running smoothly in Fourth Ward.
Great. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor. Like to thank City Police for supporting PJ's lemonade stand and making his day, making his summer for that matter, with the gift of a bike, which was very special. I did receive some complaints in regards to, I think that's the number one thing I received is complaints around street construction. We all probably done a look, received some of those calls. Not that we're making progress, we're making ample progress in the city, but to what density is the question that I've been fielding a number of times now, is the density of of how much we're doing. And so it's a good thing that we're doing it, but at the same time, the amount that we're lifting has been the question from the constituents. As we talked at the last meeting, being able to get from point A to point B, folks on our side of the ward, they literally, as we talked about, had to use Star Road as the pathway to get to where they needed to go. So going around the city, so to speak, so. Putting that out there, did receive a concern around ARP funds. And mental health concerns with our family council out of Portland. We'll talk about that probably later. I want to thank DPW for street cleanup. We still have been dealing with some different storms that brought down some trees in our area and resulted of DPW picking up the trees, but then there's still a sizable amount of just tree debris left, and DPW came through and cleaned that up as well. And Wayne, thank you for coordinating a lot of that with the freezers that went down on our week. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter?
We've had some more complaints about the signs that have been put up on Route 13, we had changed to 30 miles an hour from 40. I'm gonna call Keith Van Gorder from DOT, add a couple more signs. They're not very clear down there from what I'm hearing. A couple are blocked by trees and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
can hold
Did
that
you know
together.
that?
Yep, I
Tree
did.
branches
Yep.
there, but I think there
Yep.
needs to be a couple more added. Hopefully we can do that. It took us, years to get this done, but hopefully it won't take that long to put a couple more signs up. Troy and I talked about the weeds on Clinton Ave, that they planted the weeds. They're now 3 foot high. It was supposed to be grass, but it's weeds. But,
Wildflower.
pretty,
Oh, it's fine.
pretty bad. So, and I know we've been talking to the mayor. I guess it's could be, situation should be rectified. It looks horrible down there.
Yeah, I can update real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'll update on that. So, yeah, we did. What we got our EPA grant was to do that. So that's the irony of the whole thing. And they're plants. There's actually a very specific species, is actually a drawing that shows it's one of those plants. And some of them actually, we're walking down there today, some of them actually work, but some of them, it's just like, we should be citing them for the high.
Yeah.
But, and then the mulch is rolling on top of it. There was a lot of flooding down there yesterday after the rain down there as well, because all the mulch went over top of the inlets, so they're made to have those inlets. So we're trying to clarify now with the EPA. Trust me, we want to go down there every day and just cut them down and clean it up. But if we do that, then right now we're trying to discuss with them, like, this was your design, this was your idea. Now we want to fix it and do it a different way. We want them to pay for it. So if we just go ahead and do it and ask permission later, we'll end up paying for it. So we're gonna have to just deal with it. If I get one phone call, I don't get 10 a day over this. I don't think, it looks horrendous, and I agree 100%, I think we all agree. But ultimately, the plan right now looks like we put stone down there and put maybe some grass, some side on the side. But we're still waiting back from the EPA on exactly what we can do there, but that will not continue in the new stuff. That will be something different, so we're working on that situation as we speak.
Looks like it's gonna be leveled off or a little bigger.
Well, it's still low, because if you look at the way it's designed, the curbs are cut, and there's an influx, and so that'll still be that dip, but we need to make it less severe.
That's all I have for this morning.
I don't have much to say, because Scott covered the Brewer Tischner Cooper Tool Apex, but it is going really well. I'm very pleased with the company. They're doing a tremendous job. Hopefully when it's all done, we can get the rest of it trimmed up and cleaned up. I know there's gonna be some masonry left. And it is what it is, but at least people won't be living there and
Trees.
not blowing all over the neighbor's property. And the company is doing a great job, like Scott said, monitoring and the air. They had the mist sprayers going and everything is really well. And the only other thing was at Clinton Ave. Billy just covered that. I did have some calls and I said, if you cut them down and I don't see it, I guess have at it. Because it looks like a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful road and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that's good.
You know,
Mr. Michaels?
Yeah, I accompanied the mayor down Clinton Ave, as we walked down through there with, one of the engineers from DPW today. There are some residents that took upon themselves the weedy, some of those locations, they're pretty flat.
I didn't tell him to, but I didn't tell him not to.
But yes, these are specific species, that were, if you look at the drawings, they had to be placed in certain designated areas. But if you look at them, there's one group here and another group over here, so there is some random reason to it, but, make a long story short, they didn't come out. On another note, we have a tree on East Ave that, seems to be a concern with the residents, just waiting for National Grid to bring the arborist down to take a look at it and see what the fate of the tree is gonna be. At some point, National Grid is kind of way behind in some of the schedules, so I'm thinking maybe another month or so, we'll have some answers to that. 3 or 4. Could be. Another vacant house in my ward, so we referred to a code office. We're trying to catch this before it gets to the point where it's beyond the point of no return. We're still trying to identify why the individual walked away from the property and moved to Syracuse. Met with the library director, Jen. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to meet with her. Excellent individual, very outgoing. She approached me back in January in the winter months to place a book box in the courthouse park. I thought then it was kind of a little too cold to be trying to decide where to put this box, but we caught up with each other on Friday, and we've identified a couple of locations, and just wanted to catch up with youth bureau director to make sure that it's a viable location before we go ahead and have it installed there. She already has it built and it's ready to be put to use. Yesterday we had some flooding at the corner of Williams and Church Street. It's the worst that I've seen probably since I've lived there 30+ years. Got a little DPW, there was some plug drains. One of the drains was completely reworked this summer, and that was plugged. So hopefully we've alleviated the issue, but people got to realize that lawn clippings, leaves, whatnot, that make their way to the street, eventually end up in these drains. And the worst thing you want to see happen is that they actually plug them and they start flooding people's yards. And actually, some of the water had started to raise over the curbs down there. So if we'd received any more rain, it would have been really a potential problem. Fire hydrant painting, I know that was brought up currently. We did have a neighbor that took an aggressive approach, and he did several of them in our ward. I took a picture of him, but he didn't want me to mention his name, but I'm certainly going to recognize him for all his work. He did that over the holiday weekend, and I gotta say that they really look nice, all painted. That's all I have for the 8th one. Thank you.
And may I add?
Sure, absolutely.
I mentioned that one of the constituents on York Street had painted several of them, and I did try to get a hold of her to ask if it was all right if I said her name tonight. And I did just hear back, and it's Sherry Timmons is the woman who painted at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, recognize that there is an award process for that too, so we have all the names and we really appreciate everybody doing it. It does make a huge difference. I
It
know that.
does. It really does.
It was bugging,
Yeah,
it was bugging me with the rust and all that, but I think it's definitely making a difference. It's those little things, street sweeper, painting the fire hydrants, this makes a difference, and hopefully that'll go up into the lawn and, better. That's the idea. So it's great. I appreciate Andrea and the fire department for organizing that. Approval of minutes from the August 2nd meeting. Have a motion. Mr. Beckwith, Ms. Silman, any questions, corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolutions, agenda item number 1, approve special event permit for 9/11 memorial.
Resolved that the common council does hereby approve a special event permit and sound device permit application submitted by the 9/11 ceremony committee to host the 9/11 ceremony on September 11, 2022 at 8 a.m. and encourages all citizens to take part in the ceremony as a testament to the patriotism of our community and our refusal to become complacent about this horrific attack on our country.
Can I get a motion, Mr. Beckwith, Mr. Carpenter? Thank you, Chief Sandy, for organizing this event and making this happen. I'm excited to have it happen this Sunday. So anybody can get there, please do. Move the question.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 2, authorize administrative contract for fiscal year 2022 community development block grant for micro enterprise assistance.
Resolved that the city authorizes Mayor Scott Steve to enter into a contract with Toma Development Consultants to administer the city's fiscal year 2022 community development block grant pursuant to the consultant's response to the request for proposals, subject to approval by the New York State Office of Community Renewal.
I'll move.
Ms. Pinello. Mr. Scott. So again, it'd be great to, Toma was the award recipient here, so it'd be great to work with them again to manage this project. And it's $200,000 going to moderate income, low to moderate income, so it would be a great thing. Any questions? Move it.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 3, authorize request for proposals for trash compactor and removal services for trash recycling removal bins.
Resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to issue a request for proposals for trash compactor and removal services for the city of Cortland. And be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to issue a request for proposals for trash removal bins and recycling removal bins.
Move. Mr. Scott. Mr. Carpenter, or I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, sorry. Turn my head just as you're running. So again, this is, the basis of doing the bins for the trash and recycling. And we price that out, see where it ends up to be, so we know what the additional bins would cost. So we have a further resolution at that point to move that forward. Any questions?
Mentioned current contract ends at the end of the year.
Yeah, the current contract ends in the year, so the idea is to get this RFP back and bring it back in probably 2 meetings from now, realistically. Anybody else? Okay.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 4, transfer of volunteer firefighters length of service award program.
Resolved, the city of Portland Common Council elects Penflex Actuarial Services LLC to provide administrative and actuarial services for the length of service award program. And be it further resolved, the council elects RBC Wealth Management to provide investment and custodial services for the length of service award program. And be it further resolved, the council hereby authorizes Mayor Scott Steve to execute the necessary transfer of length of service award program information to Penflex Actuarial Services LLC and RBC Wealth Management and execute a service agreement documenting the transfer.
I'll move.
Ms. Pinello,
Second.
Mr. Scott. Any questions on this? So
Just one.
go ahead.
Meant to ask the chief this question this morning when he popped in. I'm gonna make the assumption this is a reputable organization that you've researched and.
Yeah.
Yep, I see a yes now.
This organization is in fact reputable. the volunteer firefighters LoSAP program went through some changes here in the last 5 years in a company that we were working with basically on February 2nd. A few years ago said, we're not doing this anymore. So we started working with a Yale company who we trust immensely, and they helped us with some of this. And this is basically not the program, but this is the fiscal aspect of it, to make sure that the fiscal end of it is appropriate, invested correctly, and we need to have this resolution. So and it did go to the fire commission, and they were all on board.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Call motion.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 5, designate fire department equipment as surplus.
Resolved, the city of Portland Common Council authorizes the following equipment currently in possession and used by the fire department to be declared as surplus, and authorizes the fire chief to advertise said equipment in appropriate manner as surplus and available for sale. And be it further resolved that the common council authorizes any revenue generated from the sale of this surplus equipment to be transferred into the department budget line for equipment repair for future use by the fire department. One item, 2009 Ford pickup truck with a VIN number and an inventory number.
Also move.
Mr. Scott, Ms. Lane. Yeah, so this vehicle, ultimately, the plan was to roll this over to the fire police and try to use it for other apparatus, but once they took out the bed liner, they discovered that it's worth more value to get rid of it now than later.
Put the
So
bed liner back in first.
not to be discouraged to sale, sorry.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that is the situation there. Okay, any other questions?
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 6, designate fire department fire alarm boxes as surplus.
Resolved, the city of Portland Common Council authorizes the fire alarm Gainwell system equipment currently in possession of the fire department to be designated as surplus, and authorizes the fire chief to advertise said equipment in appropriate manner as surplus and available for sale. And be it further resolved that the common council authorizes the fire chief to offer to fire department members the opportunity to purchase the Gainwell fire alarm boxes for a cost of $75 each until December 31st, 2022, and then advertise any remaining items publicly. And be it further resolved that any revenue generated from the sale of this surplus equipment be transferred into the fire department budget line for equipment repair for future use by the fire department.
I'll move. Mr. Scott, Mr. Michaels. So this, for the people who aren't aware, there's 2 different ones. There's the big ones that are on a pole that stand up, and then there's ones that hang on a pole. They're just little boxes that pull, the old pull stations that you used to see downtown. So somebody has saved them all at some point, and we found them and said it's time to clean up a little bit. So there are some that are being saved, and we're hoping to put one back down on Main Street just for nostalgia purposes to try to restore one. Be able to do that, maybe save another 1 or 2, but the rest of it is there's obviously good interest. They've checked, researched the internet and web and tried to get other options, but this was the best option.
This came up years ago, we talked about that, about removing them, because there's a big market for them. For historical reasons.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I'm so happy that we're gonna get these off the street because they don't work and they're misleading. But I noticed.
There's
still-
one.
Yeah, there's one on Main Street.
There's a couple.
Yeah. And I noticed that they, I don't know if they're selling for this, but they're priced on eBay anywhere from $4.99 to $6,285. So are we really selling them for 75?
Chief, do you want to answer that? We had this conversation, so I would rather not repeat and get it wrong.
If you have some that are in mint condition and perfect, and it depends on what the function's gonna be, you may get that 6,000, I find hard to believe, but okay.
Is a fire department in New York, and that's gonna go, obviously, from the 9/11.
Basically, all the pull boxes that have been removed, they were removed years ago when the council decommissioned the system. They all under secure, I don't even have access to them. But we have them and we need to move them along. And obviously, there's a historic value. The mayor spoke to that. And for firefighters, that is probably a big part of it. We also spoke of the downtown aspect of the pedestals. I think you're seeing what we call the pedestals. All right, we can't just take them right out because there is stuff underneath that we need to address when Main Street is tore up. But we do have an intention of trying to put a couple back up for that historical value. So some of the pricing there may be a little bit off. I think we're fair here because there's plenty of them that are not worth $50. So we're gonna meet it our way, make it.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for that explanation.
Otherwise, your garage is gonna look like mine. See, now I gotta get rid of it. Anybody else? Call the motion.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 7, appoint member to Portland Housing Authority Board.
Resolved that Diane Higgins is hereby, should read appointed to the Cortland Housing Authority Board for a term beginning September 6, 2022 and expiring December 31st, 2026. It is not a reappointment. It's a
Yeah,
new appointment.
Please note, it's appointed, so who wants to just made a motion here?
I'm ready.
Ms. Claire, Mr. Beckwith. Any questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda under item number 8, authorized payment of bills incurred during the year 2021 relating to publishing of public notices in the Portland Standard.
Resolved, the city of Cortland Common Council hereby authorizes the payment of invoices from the Cortland Standard newspaper for legal notice and advertisement costs incurred in 2021 totaling $1,144.07 from budget account number A1362-540000.
I'll move.
Ms. Pinello. Mr. Carter. Yeah, so these bills were rolled over from last year and apparently they just got pushed back and they didn't get paid for. So this is an effort to clean that up and we didn't encumber any money in that to last year to happen. So this is going to make that happen. Any other questions? Move it.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 9, create position of wastewater treatment plant maintenance coordinator.
Resolved that the common council does hereby create a new position of wastewater treatment plant maintenance coordinator as defined in the job description approved by the Cortland County Personnel Civil Service Office. And be it further resolved that the position of wastewater treatment plant maintenance coordinator be paid at the same rate as instrument tech as laid out in the current Pipeline Workers of America contract.
I move.
Ms. Lane. Mr. Carpenter. I just noticed, Bruce, that the amount wasn't stipulated in there, what that amount was on that, to show that, that cost of what that range is. And I believe he sent a dissertation, but maybe you just come up real quick, Bruce, and just give it for the public's purpose, what the intention here, what we're planning, what your plan is on resolving other issues in the plant by doing this.
Sure, so as I had mentioned in the email, we've added a lot of new equipment. And in order to properly maintain it, we've really come to the conclusion that 2 regular maintenance mechanics just are not going to be enough. So we wanted to create this position of maintenance coordinator who, while not being really supervisory in nature, will instead be responsible for running the computerized maintenance management system, as well as coordinating the scheduling of maintenance activities. And then we will also promote a current operator one into the then vacated maintenance mechanic position, so that we have 3 people devoted to this. The person that we're looking at for the maintenance coordinator position, he's already doing it and doing a good job at it. The operator one that we're looking to promote, he did extensive work with the school system down in Tennessee, has wide ranging experience, and is excellent for maintenance. As far as the costs, as I mentioned, we're looking to pick the maintenance coordinator at the same rate as had been set for the instrument tech. We no longer have an instrument tech because we spent a lot of money training somebody to be a SCADA instrument technician, and then lost him to a higher paid private organization. So we'll try to avoid doing that in the future. But I had, right, so the 12-month cost for maintenance coordinator would be $54,200, but of course, we're only looking to cover 4 months of this year. And the reduction in salaries incurred by having 2 of our staff members resign and then replacing them with trainees more than covers the increased costs of these 2 promotions for this year.
Understand, this individual has a year to obtain their Class B.
A trainee, yes, when we hire a trainee, we expect them to be able to get a Class B CDL within a year. We offer some latitude on that, especially recently with DMV's scheduling difficulties.
That was kind of where I was headed.
Yes.
Yep, that's not to expect it within a year, but definitely at some point.
But to help summarize, this is giving another level of a way to give a better salary increase to people that have gone above and beyond than just the maintenance work. This gives them an extra position.
Certainly.
That's what this is about.
But you still haven't answered, he hasn't answered the question with the amount.
54,200 is annual cost, and then 4 months till that, will be the benefit for this year. So in the end, we'll probably negate this year, probably be balance out based on the vacated position. And you are now interviewing, how many interviews you're up to on filling that?
I think we've had 6 interviews to date. I've got a couple more that have come forward through civil service. We initially placed an ad through the local paper, and apparently that's not the way anybody does that anymore. And so the mayor, Mr. Stewart, convinced me to use Indeed, and we've gotten probably 130 responses through Indeed. Very few of those actually turn into civil service applications, but the ones that do, we have been bringing them in and interviewing them, and 2, maybe 3 look like they would be possibilities, but we're going to continue to interview.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for us? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Any other questions at all? That's all? Okay, over.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith,
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 10, authorized credit card account for use by the wastewater treatment department.
Resolved that the common council does hereby grant authority for the wastewater treatment department to open and maintain a credit card account with Tompkins Trust Company to conduct official business when circumstances necessitate in compliance with the city's credit card policy.
Motion, Ms. Lane.
Second.
Scott. Yeah, so again, we're trying to get all the credit cards into one place. They currently use a Lowe's card, which Lowe's has been inordinately difficult to deal with. They put everything together for all the departments, and then And a lot of these credit cards are that way too. It's difficult. You send the money into a clearinghouse and then they don't appropriate it to each one separately. So it becomes a difficult situation. And, this would be an avenue to help fix that. Question? Roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 11, approved tree lighting event.
Resolved that the common council does hereby approve the Visions of Christmas event at Courthouse Park to be held Saturday, November 26, 2022.
Motion. Mr. Beckwith. Mr. Michaels. Yeah, so the idea here is to our tree that is failing on the side of the building here, is might not be around. So we're actually these girls have been very good about, Andrew's been very good about driving to get some donations. So we got somebody to donate a tree, and we're gonna put a tree up on the fountain area and decorate it there, and it'll be a nice accent. Courthouse Park, that's the idea. Okay, any questions? Move the item, please.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter, Councilmember Beckwith,
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 12, approve midnight on Main event.
Resolved that the common council does hereby approve the Midnight on Main event and the closure of Main Street between Court Street and Tompkins Street on December 31st, 2022.
I'll move it.
Spinello,
Second.
Ms. Silman. Just to want to clarify a couple things. This is not a copycat approach to anything. This is strictly trying to have a celebration for New Year's Eve, which the city has done for many years. Done the fireworks for many years downtown. Certainly it's not, as you know, as we all know, that our downtown is going through a difficult time right now through this construction. And we need to do everything we can to try to do it. So just trying to create an event and envision something that's going to drive people to eat downtown, bands to come downtown, and to create that. As far as Mr. Bennett's accusations of numerous accusations, certainly find offensive in many avenues, is that the celebration was in fact could have been held this February. The Taste of Downtown could have been held in July. Last year, as mayor-elect, I tried to get because I thought it would be important for our community to have the fireworks. I think it was, mentally, I think we just be able to start off a new year fresh and be able to do that. So I was actively and got monies and donations for the fireworks and trying to get all that stuff to happen. Was fortunate to find somebody that could do the fireworks that quick, but Mr. Bennett didn't want to make that happen. He didn't want to do it, and I respected his wishes, but did say it's going to happen this year. And we're not going to not do it this year. When I didn't see any activity in celebration or downtown, Taste of Downtown, certainly that needed to happen. And then speaking with the owner of the building, did we drop the ball, which has recently been sold, and his unwillingness to do it with Mr. Bennett. I thought it was important that we make this event happen and try to get everything coordinated. Would certainly work with Mr. Bennett any way I can to try to do this. People to do it downtown. It's good to have something that's that kind of event. I think we should make that a pretty important item. So that's the reasoning and the intent behind it.
So why hasn't it been put up for bid? As Mr. Bennett said that he won the bid before.
9/11 Memorial out to bid. We don't, you know what I mean? This,
Okay, but this obviously
events.
had been bid upon.
No, this,
It was.
no, I mean, the city has had the fireworks for years. The
Okay.
downtown partnership started up And I think that's a good place. There should be a DBA for the downtown partnership. And eventually I would like to have a downtown partnership. But there can't be till this one dissolves, and they can't dissolve till it resolves all its current debts. So there's a whole big story behind that, which I'll be glad to share with you at any point. But I think at this point, so there, because, and so, and I'm not sure what, the purchase of those names or the names of those events. I'm not sure how that works or what that means. But if you drop a ball from a building, we drop a ball from a building, doesn't make that event. And we don't necessarily put that out to bid, so to speak. So I think he bought the naming rights to that. I have not seen anything about that. The right does not go with our city.
I think I'd appreciate it. Mr. Bennett in good faith, since he is a small businessman in the community who's worked really hard to promote things in the community and had a good track record prior to COVID. And I'm sure COVID's hit his businesses hard as well. It seems like letting him take the lead on this event would take one thing off of your plate or Andrea's plate, or maybe they could work together. It just would feel better if we could work with him on this.
Certainly open to working together, but I just want to be assured that this is going to happen. So I'm going to make sure it follows through. That's my intent.
Maybe speak, Master.
I don't know. Do you guys, anybody have a question for Mr. Bennett?
I would like to recognize Mr. Bennett.
Okay, sure.
Just to let you know, so the city didn't own the event, the Cortland Downtown Partnership was doing the event. Originally it was put out to bid, and as I said, it was actually printed in September 14, 2019. Originally, it was gonna be basically handed. Evan Gaggle put something in the Cortland Standard saying, hey, we're gonna be taking over, and I said, hey, people know this should go to bid. There were 4 groups that originally approached, only 2 put in the bid, me, Tim Bennett, Evan Gaggle. Cortland Downtown Partnership said that I was the best fit to do it. As far as saying, oh, the city always paid for the fireworks for that event. I beg you, please give me a receipt. You wanna know why? Because I paid for it. It's on, it'll say a CFC check.
Previous.
No, yeah, I'm previous. I am, Tim Bennett. 2019 going into 2022, Tim Bennett.
Okay, I'm talking
If you would like that as additional supplies, I will cross out balances and all that, and you guys can have that. But Tim Bennett paid for it. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Talking about prior to
I'm
that.
saying prior to 2000.
It's been.
Before that,
It's been a tradition that he said.
yeah, it has, and it was ran by the Cortland Downtown Partnership, and
They weren't existing. This is
Hey,
prior. This is
but
prior.
what I'm saying though is the past years that I got it from, and when that happened, I know that McNeil Company, with Dan McNeil, he had sponsored it because he got me a check to help facilitate that event. That's all I was trying to say. So when you had said that, I can't speak of years ago, I can just speak on the most recent, just like I can't speak on what another mayor does, I have to speak on you, you're involved. So the most recent event was me, and I got the check. Thank you.
Hopefully,
But I would love to work with the city, as I always have worked with people, and I've always came up with you guys to work with, but I don't know. I wish you would, I didn't see you doing this for other events that did not occur. And it was because of COVID. So there's nothing I can do. These events will happen. And you have my word on that, just like they did before and they were successful before. They are happening.
so your work, this, given the opportunity, will work with the city.
I'll work with whoever I need to. But at the same time, like, this is an event that I've done successfully. So I mean, if you guys want to help promote it or do your social media posts, things like that, which you do, sure. I don't know what that exists of, but I'd love to meet with whoever.
Is there, so I'm just a facts guy, I hear a whole lot of, but is there a contract? Was there a price paid? How much was the price?
Yep.
Can I see the contract? And when was the contract good through? Because if the contract's already up then it's open to whoever wants to do it. I'd like to see that it was paid for a certain amount of years. And I'd like to read the contract to see that if you're able to do it, and again, I'm just going with facts. I don't care who's on either side. It's really simple business stuff. Is there something that says if the event doesn't happen and it's able to happen, is then the contract null and void? I don't know if any of those things happen. I don't know if the contract even exists. I don't know if there's a canceled check. But at this point, my opinion is the event should happen no matter who is involved. And I think that's important. We've missed a couple events that I think, in my personal opinion, could have happened. Don't know why they didn't. We're not talking about those today. We're talking about this. It's real simple. Contract, what's in it? Show me that it was paid for. Things change.
I'll
Just-
do everything
just need to
until
see
This
it.
is over. I'll give it to them.
But the big thing is I think the event needs to happen. We all agree with that, right? I mean, you wouldn't be arguing about it at all if you didn't think it needed to happen, right? So we're all on the same side.
And it's going to happen.
Okay,
First light will happen.
okay, so, which may be different than
No, I mean. it's
midnight
basically-
downtown or whatever we're calling.
Yeah, basically, Scott, Mayor Steve, remixed the name. It's the same as that.
Well, I mean, again, I'm trying to stay away from the conjecture and just go with exactly what the facts are, and those would be the facts. That would lead us to a conclusion like this. So if we could be presented with that, maybe there's a way the whole thing can work out together. At this point, I think we need to make a resolution that Midnight on Main or something is 100% gonna happen. And if they end up being the same event, wonderful. If they end up being two different events, maybe that's even better for the community. I'm not really sure.
Two balls dropping.
No,
Well, I don't,
years.
I've never been to, this is honestly the first time I've heard of First Light.
You've never been,
You never.
I've been like
downtown?
5 years ago.
so you have
So
been.
you've been.
Was it First Light back then?
Yeah,
Wouldn't even know what the name was.
well,
That was
anyway,
McNeil's fireworks. It doesn't matter.
Neil back then.
You're confusing last year's, or, last couple of years and the years prior.
Yeah,
So,
so, I mean, I think the big thing is just get the facts in front of everybody. And then everyone resolve to have an event.
right, and work
Yep.
together.
Exactly.
And I think,
and I'm offering that to work together to make it happen. I'm just gonna, my direction is to just make it happen. And I can't not let this happen. I can't not let it happen. And the visions of grandeur needs to be what it needs to be and make it happen.
So
Like I said, the other events that didn't happen are indicator that I was told that would happen to.
I think we need to acknowledge as well, though. Over the time of these past 2.5 years, there's been a lot of things that went very different for our community and for the globe. And so we can't just pretend that things weren't in a different reality. We're at a different reality, comfort level than we were just 6 months ago, let alone a year ago. And so we have to acknowledge that, and the risks that different companies actually took on 6 months to a year ago are different than they are today.
I agree, but it doesn't change what the facts are. And I think if we get the facts out in front of everybody, we can figure out the best way to work together on it and get it done.
But we're talking about events, and so
No, we're talking about one event,
No.
one contract that was paid for.
we're talking
Or at
about
least that's what we're being
the
told.
business of events that took place over a year ago. And they're very different protocols.
Are you reading a different agenda than I am?
Because we have
I'm
July,
talking-
we have
I'm
July too, right? We have
talking
events in
about-
July.
Right, I'm
So that
talking
didn't
about,
happen.
I'm talking about this event that was scheduled in January. They're under different protocols at that point in time. And risks that different businesses would take are very different today than they were a year ago. I'm just putting that out there.
None of
based
that
on-
matters
on the
if there's a
landscape.
check paid and a contract that goes through this event time. None of it matters. It just is what it is.
It matters whether or not a company, a business is gonna put that risk and liability forward to hold an event.
But he's saying he's already paid for it. If he has, he has. That's all I'm saying is
No,
it's
but he
facts are
bought-
facts.
in
It's
my-
very, very simple.
My understanding is he bought the domain,
They're two different
he
things.
bought
That's
that
what I'm saying.
fence.
It's two different things. If he's
And the
paid for an
possession
event,
and the ball.
yeah, and if he's, if
Well,
if it's happened.
I've asked Mr. Back for that documentation and he refused to give it to me. So,
That is why.
okay.
Oh, That's definitely not conjecture.
That's,
That's not true.
It's not.
For you.
It's not gonna But
So,
one thing I admire about our mayor is his ability to focus on the future and let the past be the past. And so we have Mr. Bennett, who's a small town businessman in the community, who's been very helpful to the community. And I, for one, would like to give him the opportunity to put this event on. He has the equipment. And we all have the expectation that it will happen. Events, not events. And so I would just ask that the city work with Mr. Bennett, give him the first shot at planning this event and carrying it out. That personally, that would be a happy resolution.
I'm certainly willing to work together with anybody, because this, the common goal, if we're not making money, we don't want to keep money from other people.
Right.
For sure, right? So that's not the intent here. So my intent is to get the job done, and that's all, that's my intent, and that's what we're doing. This isn't his side, my side. It's not anything about that. It's about getting it done, and I think there's some other issues that would arise from dropping the ball from that building and that I could mitigate, we could mitigate, that he wouldn't be able to.
So what do we do with this resolution? If, I also, as Katie, want to be assured that Tim has input and that the city
Right.
works with him.
Right, and I said I give now that
Okay.
opportunity.
Okay.
That's as
You need to
simple as I
vote.
can make it fair.
Okay.
I don't know how else can do it. It's, certainly, with all the construction and everything else we got going on, but I want this to be I want it to be a great event, and we need to get on it now, because trying to get people, I have one vendor lined up for fireworks the rest of their line, because a lot of people did do them last year in January, and this year it's even, there's some that got out for different reasons. As many businesses are, they can't get help, et cetera. And there's some that are not really reputable. I attended some fireworks this weekend, and it was kind of scary. I was in a bad spot. It was right over my head. So, but that being said, so I just like to, I assure that I'll do everything I can to try to work together to make this happen.
Thank you.
That's fair, and that's all I can ask.
Thank you
Thank
very much.
That's fair.
It's something that, this isn't something that you plan overnight. It's something that, it takes several months to organize. You have, people that want to invest in this. You have businesses that are hurting this, due to the construction on Main Street. We're just trying to get people together again.
Mhm.
Like we should have, back, in January, first, to celebrate that. A lot of events, throughout the country, throughout the world, had fireworks during that year. A lot of people were disappointed that it didn't happen. Working with this mayor, he's assured me that it is gonna happen. And, he's a shaker and a mover, and, if you're not on board, catch the train, you have to wait for the next one.
Well,
So I've been on a lot of different bus stops and train stops as well, and I've also observed a lot of different people in this town. And I think Mr. Bennett is one of those movers and shakers, and he's absolutely been able to do events like this that are large scale, and he's been successful at it. At the same point in time, 6 months ago, a year ago, risk was at a different level. And I don't necessarily like to use that, but within that insinuation that was happening because he couldn't prepare for that. The reality is there's different for across a number of different areas that this city has been participating in, from hospitals to colleges to businesses, large scale events. And I know this because I work events consistently and have to mitigate those risks. And so I'm concerned about our tone and tenor when we have to look at the whole scale of things.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Coming back to what Scott said, I am concerned about the liability involved. maybe, Mr. Melvin could speak on that as to, we gotta be careful as to what, I don't know how you safeguarded it before, I don't know what you did before. But the mayor's obviously concerned about someone just dropping the ball, which I understand, guarding that area, which is a concerning thing. So we wanna make sure that, if we sign in, look, he's gonna help us out, is somebody gonna back away from when something does happen, and that's what I think you're concerned with. So you gotta really look at that also. I'm not saying, listen, I've known him for years and he does a great job. I just wanna make sure that he understands that, everybody understands here that what the mayor's saying is about liability. That's all, God forbid, somebody gets hurt, or a firework goes awry, and all of a sudden we have problems, and that's what he's concerned. I'm very concerned about that.
And again, this is nothing personal. I'm not making any personal attacks, although it has to be the other way. I'm not making any personal attacks. I'm just trying to get something accomplished and the bigger vision of covering downtown. I have drawings of doing ice sculpture and all those things, and I'm sure with Mr. Bennett's creativity can be even farther. And I'm excited to have that happen and excited to take it to that next level. Because I like to, make things a little bit better every time. So every year you can keep impressed and make it better and better. And I think that could be helpful. I think that could be had. I think we just, we might just give you another pothole. Right. Well, I could plug Main Street and they could.
They said the ski thing going down to Court Street.
Right, to Mr. Carpenter's point, the city is very invested, we have, the police adds forces on, we have the trash cleanup is all on us. There's a lot more to it than just that. It is a city event, it needs to be a city event, if he wants to host do the ball drop. But again, I think there'd be some issues because the building owner won't let you drop it from there, but he'll let us drop it. So I think we need to work some of those situations out. I think they can be done. And be able to have that happen the way it needs to happen, or what needs to happen in Portland. I just don't want to put that any further. I can't make it any more clear than that. It's nothing personal. Just want it done.
I look forward to meeting with the mayor soon.
Thank you. Please. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, move.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
I appreciate the debate. It's always good to have discussion, for sure. So I appreciate that and being respectful. Agenda item number 13, adoption of local law number 8, 2022, amending Article 202, adjusting hours of operation of city parks.
Resolved that the Common Council approves the adoption of local law number 8 of 2022, amending Article 202, Section 202-3, hours of operation of parks, setting the hours of operation for all city parks as 6 a.m. until 1/2 hour after sunset. And be it further resolved that the text of the local law shall read as follows. I'll waive the reading of that.
I'll move it.
Ms. Pinello,
Second.
Mr. Scott. So the intent of this is to, we've had some loitering in our parks and I'm more thinking about it, like most of our parks are need to be lit. We need to get Wi-Fi, we need to get lighting, we need to address all that, but we don't even have them lit. We've had some issues for vandalism and some other items and some other things, and this gives us the enforcement agency for the police department to enforce that. Happen once this is filed. The local law will take immediately when the Secretary of State receives it, so then that'll be the home rule law for that one. Anybody have any questions?
Just one thing, I think 6 o'clock too early.
To start?
Yeah. Especially in the fall when it's
I-
dark out at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I know, but so I think about like we're gonna be talking about this with the youth bureau here in a minute, with the gaming park, and we're trying to extend that walkway around the backside of the pond, if you will, so that people can walk on that, and I know that a lot of people, and some people like me need to get out and exercise at 6 o'clock if you're getting to work earlier, and they like to be able to have that, so I hate to not have them have that.
I don't think you can't.
I don't think
that by time.
the people who are concerned about loitering aren't gonna be there at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Just don't-
Maybe 4, there might be an issue coming the other side of the day, but not at that time. So I don't think that will be as much of a concern.
just don't worry about
But
it.
yeah, we just kind of, I think we went based off other other municipalities and what they had done and try not to recreate the wheel.
I have to say, I'm torn about this because my son got busted in Eamon Park for eating french fries in the car with a couple of his buddies at 10:30 at night. And they were just hanging out, talking, eating french fries. I know that there are people who do other things that we frown upon. But my husband and I walk around at 10 at night and if you light it up too well, you won't see the fireflies of the river.
Right, that's true.
So
Yeah,
if we could, just like your 6 o'clock is so early, I hate to close it so early in the evening as well, to get people who get out there and they're having a barbecue and having a nice time, and I'd hate to run them off just
Yeah,
because it's half an hour after
I
sunset.
think it gives them more the enforcement for when we have an issue, more than the people that are not in an issue, if you will. I mean, they're not that gonna segregate that, but certainly if they see somebody's in the act of cleaning up and doing that, they're not gonna. But if they see if they're in the act of just no good, and
Right,
I don't see any reason that they go back. You gotta think about all the parks that you have.
Right.
That's interesting.
And they're not gonna be barbecuing in the winter, you know. You gotta think of seasonal.
Yeah, because 9 o'clock at night, you're still daylight, right, which I love, right? So you're in the summer and you have that ability to go that way, but after that 10:30 is kind of late. And that's just like, you know, I think it's just a way to enforce that curfew.
Call me if you get arrested.
It's very important.
I do have questions about events in the
Yeah.
parks.
Yeah,
And
it's,
so is
it's,
that,
it states that, so that basically if there's a softball game and you're under lights, obviously. If you have a scheduled event that's there, then that's certainly okay. But it would be a youth bureau sponsored events because the youth bureau takes care of our parks. Anybody else? All right, what was the question?
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Reflectant, I.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
aye,
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 14, approve the town of Portville Recreation Services Agreement.
Resolved, the common council accepts the agreement and $80,000 from the town of Portlandville for the year ending December 31st, 2022.
I so move.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Carpenter. This is the members that were on last year. This is between Portlandville and we couldn't get that worked out. And so we were able to meet with Mr. Williams and make that happen. So we have an agreement with them to provide certain things that we've already paid for and provided. And then you'll see a budget here in a couple minutes by Andrea to Ms. Grossi to address where we were going to spend the 80,000. Want to get that. Anybody have any questions?
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson,
aye,
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith,
aye,
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda number 15, approve the spending of $80,000 from the town of Coralville agreement.
Resolved, the common council approves the spending of $80,000 for Yemen Beach retention wall replacement. Approves the spending of the $80,000 for Yemen Beach retention wall replacement in the amount of $70,000 and Yemen Park entrance renovation in the amount of $10,000.
So Andrea, I probably just now is just as good as any. Yeah, can I get a move? for-
I'll move it.
Mr. No, thank you for that, Mr. Carter. So, we spent some time over there at Yeaman's Park and as well as all of our parks. I don't want anybody to get, worked up about any of the other ones, but, certainly, some of the other ones, we have a big idea for Randall Park. And, that one's coming, be patient, Mr. Michaels. And, but all the parks, so Andrea has listed here a bunch of the items that we're trying to address currently and in the future. Is there one for me or should I keep my copy? Oh, I had to hear something. And so the intent was to come up with a plan so that we can, this is just a preface of having our 5-year plan, so we can address things in a little more systematic way, but this is to address the immediate needs and hopefully get these items we want to address this year. So I think that's what she separated on her list. But, want to pass that back down here. Mine's not, mine doesn't have the colored version.
Trying to help you out.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so Andrew, if you want to just take over, that would be great.
So the current retaining wall down on the beach at Lehman is 53 years old. Wooden planks that are deteriorating, there's grass and other greenery growing through it, so it's time to replace it. We are going to replace it with concrete, kind of like the Jersey barriers, decorative with the field stone on the front. So it'll be 6 feet high. We'll be able to backfill and even out that slope a little bit, so we can actually mow it. Right now, we just have to regrap the entire thing. So that retaining wall will be about $70,000 to replace that, including removing the current wall and the landscaping behind it. Not sure if you've driven in the even recently, but the entrance shack doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. They used to charge cars who entered Neiman. We don't do that anymore. The only reason it's kind of still there is there's electrical panels for the whole park on the backside of it. So Mayor Steve and I met to review kind of our needs at Neiman. And we think that removing that shack, creating a decorative wall with a sign that says Neiman Park that's backlit with a flower bed in front is a better entrance than the current shack to the park. So that'll be another $10,000. And that 50,000 will be the Cortlandville money, so that will be for that. If you look through the spending plan, you'll see we have money for the Neiman Playground project. $20,000 earmarked for a total of $100,000 to renovate that playground over there. In your packets, you'll see drawings for what we have planned. We'll keep it toddler friendly over there. A lot of families travel to Neiman because there are not the bigger, older kids running around. We'll keep it for the toddlers. The poured in place rubber, unfortunately, we will not have. We'll do the mulch, the playground mulch, like we have at Dexter and Bowdre, because it's more cost effective and we can have more equipment over it for that. On one of those drawings, you'll see an overhead of Neiman. You'll see the red line is the current retaining wall, and then the gray line is a proposed walkway. So it'll start at the back of Neiman near the pavilion. And it'll go along the water and then connect over to the playground area, where we'll have some more benching and picnic tables and right over to the pavilion. So there will be one large loop around Neiman. We'll have distance markers so that you know if one loop is a mile or 3/4 of a mile, so you can keep your distance. And then future plans are on the other side of the parking lot near the skate park to add a walkway from the sidewalk all the way up through the tunnel. So you can go under the tunnel, over the pedestrian bridge, and then one bigger loop. So that'll be future plans for that. Infield mix is it's not just dirt on the softball fields that we have, it's an actual play infield mix. And we need about 100 tons to do some work at those fields. That's about $7,500. The bathhouse over there needs painting and a serious clean. So we've got quotes to do that. And that's gonna get done this year as well. And then the dog park, over at Noss Park, the folded piece of paper that you have is the overhead for that. And you can see the parking area and then the fenced off areas. There's a small dog area and a large dog area. And there's an entrance way, so you always want to double beat for a dog park that way. You don't open one gate and all the dogs are kind of protect them. The gray shaded triangles are shade structures. And then there's a pavilion on the north side of that for people. We're gonna work with the high school wood shop classes, and they're gonna build the traditional dog park amenities, the slope, to go up the platform, and then a couple other fun little pieces in there.
Like a piece that applied with the poles in it, and you put the drawing in and take a picture like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for right here. I have it printed off.
Yeah, I talked to the superintendent of schools, and he's excited to make these as shop projects, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can test them.
So where did you put that?
Nos Park.
So this,
Yeah.
just to give you an idea where Knott's Park is, if you head down South Main Street, as you're going to the high school, right before Portland Plastics, on the left-hand side, you go down that road.
So the DPW's recently cleaned out all the trees, planted out, put some new soil and seed in there, and I think it's a great spot for it.
So the grass is growing there, and there's certain structures we can't do. Again, this long-range plan that you see in the drawing, we have a 30 by 40 pavilion in there. Figured people like to have birthday parties for the dogs, and maybe somebody else who gets big caught in the rain, or they might place, put their bikes or whatever the case might be, something like that. So we've long awaited a dog park, and this is a perfect spot because we can't build on that site, and we're getting some good grass growing in there now, so.
What do we do for cats? Stop it.
I'm so excited about this, and I don't even have a dog anymore, and I'm so excited about this, but I was wondering, are you planning on selling advertising to help us support it to local, like?
Yeah, so I've talked to a couple organizations about potential sponsorships, and they are excited about it. You just gotta go up to corporate level and see what we can do. Yeah.
Alright,
So this budget money she has will pay for the whole thing. We anticipate the back fund it. We don't want to not make it happen, so we get the fence in this year.
sure.
Gives the grants, the grass a little bit longer to establish, so it'd be ready to go by spring. That would be the idea. And then give the shop class time to build everything, to have it put in there by spring. So and then hopefully we can sell banners on the backside.
Yeah.
When I was in Old Forge last week, they just put one in, and I was able to research a little bit with them directly about how that went, and they were surprised. They had a little bit of resistance. They're like, people could go on the trails up there. There's a lot of hiking trails. That's what we do up there. And every day I went by that dog park, and there's at least 8-10 dogs there. And and then people are so excited. It's good for them. It's healthy for everybody.
I know Katie and I were in the original committee
Yeah.
8 years ago, we went to your house, and
Yeah.
that's when it started, but we just had a couple meetings, it just fizzled out.
A former councilman, I will not mention by name, said to me, one dog park.
Yeah, well,
I just thought that's sad.
A lot of
Portland
people-
can't have amenities like dog parks.
so not to be on that person, but it's amazing how many people I've talked to that go to it because they enjoy that. So
Yeah.
that's true. So ask around. Yes, if you look at the budgetary plan, there's a budget for water, and we have the water fountain for the person, and then one for the dog at the bottom, so it's gonna be kind of a cool, fun thing.
Great.
But that's what the IRP money that was designated 120,000 that we talk about later, that's what, so this is all breaking that down.
Believe me, I'll be working on it.
Now, the flip side of it was trying to find the ideal location for something like this.
Yeah.
And this area just had to be perfect.
You will let me do it at Randall, so that, you know. So to go to South.
That's already a dog park.
Yeah,
Could have solved the problem, but no.
and he wouldn't let me.
What did he say?
All right, so where were we here? Then you have, so the Randall Park, we talked about all that. And then
That
we-
grant award is in December, and we're still waiting.
and the courthouse, we're working on the stage and the benches. We need benches over there. When we could have tore the stage out as soon as the last concert series wasn't, because it was dangerous, and there were some benches that were pretty splintered and tethered. I noticed people were sitting on, so they took them out as well. So we need to replace those because it is nice for people to have them. Maybe, well, we gotta replace those, so that's part of this plan. Did you miss anything, Andrew?
Yeah, just anything in red will be next year, hopefully, maybe next 2 years. Everything in black right now, we are working on or has been completed and will be done by snowfall.
That's great.
So we'll have the playground ordered. It won't be installed this fall, but in spring we'll get it in.
That kind of snow melts, hopefully they'll be able to climb on it, so I know that'll be big in your district for sure.
People are very happy about that.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Very
are,
happy about that.
yes, they are.
Anybody else have any questions on it?
Will you keep an existing structure?
So the only thing that's really salvageable right now is the current rock wall. The swing set we're gonna take out. We did replace it with new swings, so you can have inclusive swings, generation swings, and then new toddler and bell swings. So there'll be 6 swings there. Yep, and they'll all be together instead of separate.
Yeah, so if this gets approved tonight, maybe you could post that on your website. I did have some of your constituents asking about it when they heard that was happening.
Yep.
They would appreciate those drawings and definitely want to be excited about that.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks,
Thank
Andrea.
you.
Yeah, so when there's funding to be had, there's not much she's gonna drop by behind. She's on top of it. She's really aces all the way, so for sure. All right, I think we're on agenda item 15, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so did I, any other questions? Can I move the question?
So is this monies, these monies here, does this have anything to do with monies that we had previously from ARP? Or-
No, we're doing the 80,000. The next resolution after this will be the ARP money, so okay, I'll answer that question in the next one. This 80,000 is the received money on the above resolution number 14.
I'm just saying, I see Game and Park there as well.
Yes, it's actually, that's all the budgeted numbers she just gave us. It's actually for both, so they are correlated. There's $200,000 we're allocating to this project. All the ones you just talked about. So 80 is from there and the other 120 is from the ARP, which we'll follow in that third discussion. So move agenda item number 15, please.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 16, approve the spending of $120,000 from the American Rescue Fund.
Resolved, the common council approves the spending of $119,123.75 for the items listed below. Yeaman Park Playground renovation, $20,000. Yeaman Park Extended Walkway, $16,123.75. 100 tons of infield mix, $7,500. Yeaman Park Bathhouse Painting, $33,500. Park, including fencing and site amenities, $42,000.
They're gonna move, Mr. Carpenter and Ms. Sullivan. All right, now to answer your question, Ms. Thompson, on the resolution, I don't know why I don't have that, and my administrative assistant had an injury, so she's out. Is that something, you guys have a copy of that ARP funding document in your resolution stuff? You know, There was an attached part of the, let's see if it's in here. It was an attached part of the amended during the financials. It was in the agenda packet. Anyhow, in the top half of that, which seems to be the big source of contention on the ARP funding, was yeah, that's yeah. Look at this. Sure. So, was that resolution where it said at the top half, and then it said at the bottom that this leaves out, that was the document that was sent. So there was $1.158 million that was allocated last year that was done, and that included equipment for parks, Yeaman, Dexter, Randall, Beaudry, Randall, and Randall Park planning. Well, that's a separate. So it said equipment for parkscape, and that was $120,000 that was allocated last year. Then there was $35,000 done for Randall Park designing, which we've been spending. To make departments whole, some of that has been spent. Compensation for employees, work through pandemic, some of that has been spent, or all of them have been allocated. City Hall facilities updates, no. Computer servers and accessories, some of that has been spent. Fire department vehicle, codes vehicle, yes, they've both been spent. Youth groomer vehicle spent before. I think you'll talk about this later anyways, right? So we'll go through all that later, but anyway, so we're just isolating that $120,000 that's at the top of that resolution that was authorized to spend towards that. This is driving it down to what that's being spent for. I think that's the appropriate way it needs to be done. If we're spending it on our equipment, our stuff, then the contract doesn't need to be done. If we send it with an outside vendor, the contract has to be done. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so anybody else have any questions? Mr. Thompson, did that help?
No, I think, being that detail is good, that's a good thing. I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, so that $120,000. Right, move the motion.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello,
Aye.
Councilmember Lane,
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye. Then item number 17, accept and recognize donations to the youth bureau.
Resolved that the common council accepts the donations listed below and appropriates funds to the Cortland Youth Bureau operating budget accounts outlined below. A donation from Yeaman Foundation in the amount of $15,000 for Yeaman Playground renovation. Donation from Coffee Mania in the amount of $1,000. A lot allocated to Porch Fest donation. Porch Fest donations in the amount of $3,558.57. Donation from the Frosty Caboose in the amount of $100. Donation from Eating Bugs in the amount of $120. All being allocated to contractual small equipment budget lines.
Yes, so these, the funds, will go towards some of these projects as well as, the oak tree that got hit by lightning at the one park is a replacement of that, do the Porch Fest, water fountains, right? And I'm gonna make sure to catch them all,
The water bottle fill stations.
right? Water bottle fill stations. And that's all part of that Porch Fest donation. They decided what that was. And Amy Bugs has been the one working for the employment. She's been absolutely incredible. So to get a chance to see her, give her a hug because she's been working above. And as far as Yeaman goes, they, not only is they giving this money towards the playground equipment, but they're also doing hiring an outside consultant, because I talked to him about the water over there to do some kind of aeration, some kind of pump, because that pump is in repair for so many years. So we want to take down those piping and the ugly pipes that are out there, put that up and clean that up as part of our process. But he's actually paying for a company to come in to do that study for us, and I'm hoping that we can tie that aeration system, in my words, into that water to get that, to fix that as part of the Pedgrid project, to get it included with that. So that's the plan there. So hopefully that'll happen. So back to receiving these funds, can I get a motion? Mr. Carpenter and Mr. Beckwith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion items, discussion item number 1, Park School Ad Hoc Planning Committee. I'll start off. I did get a contact by the Y director and Capco director, and they want to do a, with their board president chairs. They were presidents, I'm not sure which they are. Have requested a meeting with me one-on-one on the 19th, so I'll be doing that, so I'll update after I know what that's about. But,
Okay.
they said the committee's been working hard and they've been helpful, so I'm not sure if anybody had something to report on that.
Well, a couple of us met with Assemblywoman Kellis to talk about the money that's there,
Funding sources,
possible funding sources.
and also the managerial position.
Right, we gave her a copy of the proposed job description that Greg had from Capco. So she has that, and she'll be giving input.
Good. Yeah, because if that's funding would be important for sure. I think she's committed some for that after we
Yeah.
spent, but yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. All right, anything else on that? Trash and Recycling Ad Hoc Committee, Advisory Committee, I will propose the latest items. We just need to get back together again to discuss the compactors and locations to resolve that issue. So we hope to get that done soon. Town and Gown Ad Hoc Committee, I think we've had some great meetings and some good stuff. I'll let you guys share that. You guys been all there, and I think it's going very well, and get the positive email from President sending to all the students talking about our great people in their community. So that's awesome. So, and we've got some good things coming up. So I don't know if you guys want to step in.
Battalion Chief Reynolds and I went up and spoke to the Greek organizations, the presidents, and it went very well. And Sandy is amazing.
Yes.
So, just again, welcome to the community. Let's see how we can get you more involved in it. And they were very receptive.
Yeah, our last conversation was about off-campus housing. We try to keep these conversations to an hour. You can imagine how difficult that is. There were a lot of us there, and we decided to extend that conversation to the next time we meet. So we're gonna keep working on it.
Yeah, lots to do for sure. And it's been great. And certainly, I think, the police is there, the fire's there, the code office is on top of the students coming back, which is great. And having that dialogue back and forth to make that happen, and further educate, further help with that quality of life issue is great. I think it's great dialogue. So it's been going very well. Very happy with that one. That's a fun one to go to.
It is, it really
Yeah,
is.
especially because Sandy has it all organized. He's created. A special meeting with common council. So as part of the city manager process, I was able to get, we're gonna get set up in here with Zoom on the 15th at 5 p.m. I will be at a NICOM convention, so I'll probably have to Zoom in myself as well. But there really won't be any action. It's more of an educational format, so that basically, and really like some good questions to put together. I mean, we have some supporting documents that were submitted with this meeting's stuff, but we'll be meeting with the Livingston County Administrator and the City of Corning Administrator at that time. They'll be on that Zoom call to discuss what that means, what that position means, what their title is. I think the City of Corning one might be helpful in some ways, although Corning is somewhat smaller than us and has a good influx of cash from other things. However, I think it's important to, they do have 8 council members, which is important. And it's a,
What time?
5 p.m. on 15th.
15.
And but I think it'd be good to have those questions for them and understand how that relationship goes. But I think it takes it to the next level of where it should be a good situation.
So Mayor, you said it's a Zoom. Are we meant to be here?
Yeah,
in
if you
person?
can be
but-
here, if you can be here in person, somebody has to be able to just identify the meeting and run it and be able to host, be able to
Yeah.
tell Mr. Tinkay or Deputy Chief Tinkay if they need to be cut off, if they're out of control or something. So somebody needs to figure if that could happen,
Will the deputy mayor be running that meeting?
I assume.
No, I'm gonna be out of.
Oh, he's out of town, so
Okay.
so we'll have to figure that out.
We did, Mayor, and I did meet with both of them here about a week ago. Very, very nice gentlemen, certainly knowledgeable of what they do in Corning. And they certainly have a lot to bring to the table that I'm sure everyone will be interested in hearing.
So put the list of questions, you can see their charter and all that, we've listed in there as supporting documents to try to, it's basically a charter change, if you will. And then we can get to this next step and get this moving forward, that'd be awesome. So, so please, if we can attend to that, I mean, if you can't make it in person, then Zoom is certainly secondary best. I don't know, we'll try to get somebody to just to do the meeting, maybe just get me or somebody to run it. And we just need to quickly convene. We're not gonna make any decisions we made, so open meetings law requires us to do that, so. I just wanna make notice of that special meeting. It's just because that's the time that works for them, be able to do it too.
Remember we talked about that before about legality, as to zooming. Is that-
It's just the educational part, so they're zooming into educational pieces.
Well, we can zoom also, you're saying.
For this educational piece, because no action will be taken.
Okay,
You can't vote and do something, but you can ask questions. And go through all that, but you're not gonna be in action, so if it works out better for everybody, it'll be the same Zoom in login that we always use.
okay.
And we'll get that distributed. Any other questions on that? Okay, ARP funding, Ms. Pinello, she did an audit and kind of reviewed some of that stuff, so I'll let, if you want to take over and try to run that, would be great.
I will. So just a quick background, the US Department of Treasury dispenses these funds, the American Relief Funds, to the states, who then in turn dispense to the municipalities. So the city of Portland received $953,539.94 on July 22nd, 2021. $3,893.08 on August 24th, 2021. And $957,433.01 on July 19th, 2022, totaling $1,914,866.03. Okay. So two of the three receipts, if you will, came last year in 2021. So there are certain requirements put out by the department, the Treasury Department, and these are just what I would call the highlights that should have been implemented when the city first received the funds back in 2020. It's recommended that the city should develop written policies and procedures for recipient monitoring and risk assessment, and maintain records of all award agreements, identifying or otherwise documenting recipients' compliance obligations. The city must develop and implement effective internal controls to ensure that funding decisions constitute eligible uses of funds and document those determinations. The city is responsible for ensuring funds are used for eligible purposes. The city must develop and implement procedures and retain records to determine and monitor implementation of criteria for determining eligibility of beneficiaries. There is no record of any of those policies, procedures, protocols in place last year. Okay. So there was a meeting on November 16th of 2021. And as the mayor just alluded to, certain recipients totaling $1.1 million were awarded monies, like the parks, what we just talked about. And there is absolutely nothing in the minutes from that meeting authorizing. That's why we did it tonight. Okay. Then the Common Council at that meeting on November 16th discussed there was another $765,000. There was no approval for those monies to be awarded. There's nothing in the minutes. However, $30,000 was given to 6 nonprofits after that November meeting without the council's approval. The veterans here, you did not approve. It was 4 agencies received $5,000, 1 agency received $2,000, and another agency received $8,000. So there was no approval. And the mayor and I have talked about it. We will work with those agencies to figure something out, so they don't have to necessarily repay the money. $40,000 was funded, was supposedly funded to offset the cost of visits to a mental health professional. But again, as I stated initially, these protocols and policies and procedures were never implemented prior to this meeting. So nobody knows exactly who's supposed to get the money. $200,000 was actually allocated for City Hall facility updates to protect visitors and employees. Again, nothing in the minutes, nothing stated, nothing approved by the council, and nobody knows exactly what is supposed to be updated here in this building.
Key cards, we talked about key cards.
Yeah.
It should
But it
be
wasn't
in the
approved,
report.
Katie. That's what I'm trying to say.
We had discussion.
You had, right, but you didn't approve it.
We had discussion and we had the list that for some reason was missing. And then once I had the date, I found it and sent it to all of you. And we thought that that's what we voted on. And we understand now that the procedure was wrong.
Yep.
But we thought that we voted
Yep.
on approving those things.
Also, when the city in July and August of last year received the 2 awards, all the money was placed in the general account. There was not a separate fund set up just for an ARP funding. And that's best practice, to set up a separate account.
Sure.
And it wasn't done. So all this money from 2021 was placed in the general account.
You want to tell us who the recipients are as
You want me
to.
to? Okay.
public.
The $30,000 recipients, the
Yeah.
ones, okay. The Veterans of Foreign Wars received 5,000, American Legion received 5,000, Disabled American Veterans received 5,000, Elks Lodge received 5,000, Portland Area Communities That Care 2,000, Family and Children Counseling Services 8,000. There's no indication as to what the purposes for these awards are. We don't know what they're going to do with the money. And again, this should have all been established prior to November 16th Common Council meeting. So now we've got to go back and we have to fix this. And the mayor's already done some of the fixing, just like tonight with the playground and all of that information, but we have to continue to fix this.
Thank you for doing so, Mary Claire.
Yeah, so, yeah, April 30th was the deadline where we were due to send the report in and always send a copy of the contracts and the money that's being spent or has been spent. Some of it's pretty easy. It was easy to send this receipt for a fire vehicle or something like that, and we can do that. Those are legal. Unfortunately, it's a stretch, and I love those agencies, but the Eagles actually approached me and said, why would we give them money? But with that said, those are all great groups, but I have to be creative and I have till the end of the month to create a plan to write with them and work out an agreement. I'm not gonna come back to this council to seek approval to sign that agreement with them when I do get that, because it's already been spent. So I'm just gonna put that out there right now, make sure the minutes reflect that, you know, we're going to have to move this forward as best we can and try to do it as diligent as we can, but we're gonna try to be creative to try to clean this up, to try to do that.
And the other issue too is just to make everybody aware, I'm not saying it would happen, but it could happen. That Treasury Department, when we have to do our reporting to them, right? We have to be totally honest. And so they could, not saying they will, but they could take back the money. Because this was not allocated correctly. This was not done correctly. Not saying they will.
And it specifies that it has to be used for a purpose that to stay within 10 years. And some of those are gonna be hard stretches to do. We'll do everything we can to work that and then hope for the best, but in full disclosure, I think we just need to address it and just be hit head on. Everybody's aware of the problem. Again, I'm not trying to beat anybody up with it. I wouldn't have brought it up until we had to discuss it quickly, but this is what we have in front of us, so we gotta try to get it done, get it the best we can to do it, but there was another one too, so anyhow, so we'll work it out with all those agencies
yeah.
to try to do it. There's a big one.
Child care service providers, $230,000 and $40,000 was awarded to the Portland Child Development Council.
Right, so there's a $40,000.
That's another one.
So I think, you know, that's an easier reach for sure, but I'd like to then to go, what I would hope the next question would be is, where's the rest of the money? And it's in the bank, we have it. And I would like to put together a plan that is detailed and would be an effective plan, to be the best use of that money to be able to use for benefiting the community and stimulating the community, such as maybe new snowmobile, you know what I mean? So that stage, the portable stage, I think that'd be a great thing for the community to have and be able to use and have. I think that would be a great item to be able to do some items like that. So if you want to put on your thinking caps and do that, I mean, the rest of the list, some of it was somewhat vague. Sidewalks and all that, we've been able to maintain that anyways, courthouse. Temporary stage work is not relevant. Generator for the armory, not needed. So there's some other things that have been changed, so we have many other needs, so I've asked the department heads to put the list together of items that they want to address as well. And certainly we try to use it like we've been able to stretch that $120,000 to do a lot. And do a dog park, to do a lot of improved things, and by the way, the color will be changed in the park, it won't be brown anymore. So that's good news, so all those things are gonna happen, so those are all part of that, and I'll look at those kind of ideas to be able to put together towards that, so give that some thought. Ultimately, it's gonna be your decision, you guys are the financial purse strings, but we'll certainly try to put together some ideas to get that to happen. Anybody else have anything else on the ARP funding? All right, rental housing zoning update ad hoc committee. We're meeting again tomorrow at 4. This will be the second one. The other one, I messed up the time, changing it. It was scheduled for the day I was not going to be here. So we rescheduled for 4 tomorrow. The first one went very well. It was a very civil discussion. We had different factions thinking different things. I had another event to attend across the street at CBC, and happened to look across the street probably 45 minutes later, and 2 of those factions were sitting there still having that conversation. So I'm super excited about it. There's a lot of work to go, and there's a lot to happen, but I think everybody's on the same page now that we need to move this forward and stop paying these exorbitant attorney fees. So that part's going well. And hopefully to see some of the council people at that next one. The city manager, I think we updated that. There's any questions you have on the information that was submitted, we talked about having that updated then, but I'd like to bring a resolution forth to the next meeting. We'd have to have this as it's a change to our charter, because our charter has it differently now. And I just think it's time to look at doing things a little bit differently. Any questions on that?
Who drafted that position up? Was it Mary Claire?
Yeah, she had some implement to it. Some of it has to do with the charter, some of that supporting documents, charters.
Okay,
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with the charter. As far as advertising the position, you're gonna fill what the charter is, but the charter description probably fits better for what we're going to approve.
okay.
If I could sit there and do the job description and you don't see the charter, you're gonna come to the meeting and say, what's this?
Yeah,
So that's what this is about.
so I found a few items I think maybe should be added to that.
Okay,
So.
Yeah, me too.
yeah, please do.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, please to Robin and I, if you could, in the mayor's office, email and myself, that'd be great. I'll get that updated and also after we have that special meeting, we'll be able to have that discussion again. And then hopefully get that, but I'd really need to get this on the next step. We're missing my timeline here. So we'd really like to get it on the next agenda. So after you receive that, send the emails or your questions. I'll certainly share them with the public and everybody at the end. If we need to be, if the discussion needs to be debated about it, otherwise I'll just add it on to it. We'll bring it to the next meeting and then you can review it all ahead of time. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So
Second, who was that? Ms. Selman and Mr. Carpenter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That's good.